The space station horizon floated peacefully in Earth's orbit, its silver hull gleaming under the distant sun. Officer Tom Parker stood at his usual post in the security hub, sipping his morning coffee while watching the array of monitoring screens before him. His companion, a German shepherd named Max, dozed quietly at his feet. The calm morning routine shattered when the station's sensors blazed to life. A massive ship, unlike anything in Earth's database, had just emerged from what appeared to be a fold in space itself. Its dark purple hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and its design defied conventional engineering logic. All personnel, battle stations. Commander Reed's voice echoed through the station's communication system. Unknown vessel approaching. This is not a drill. Tom straightened up, and Max immediately rose to attention, ears perked forward. Years of training had taught the dog to respond to changes in station alerts. As Tom rushed to his designated emergency position, Max followed closely, his nails clicking against the metal floor. The alien vessel, now closer to the station, dwarfed the human structure. Its size alone made Earth's largest ships look like toys in comparison. The station's crew watched in tense silence as a transmission request flickered across their communication screens. Commander Reed, after consulting with Earth Command, accepted the transmission. The main screen in the control room came to life, revealing a tall, angular being with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes arranged in a pattern that made human observers slightly uncomfortable. "Greetings, Earth Station." The alien spoke in perfect English, though its mouth didn't move in sync with the words. "I am High Commander Axel of the Galactic Alliance. We have been observing your planet for some time, and we come with an ultimatum." The control room remained silent. Tom felt Max press against his leg, a reassuring presence in an increasingly surreal situation. "Our research has revealed your species' greatest weapon," High Commander Axel continued, "and we cannot allow such dangerous creatures to exist without proper oversight. Submit to our authority, or we will be forced to take action." Commander Reed stepped forward. "I'm afraid I don't understand, High Commander. What weapon are you referring to?" The alien's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Do not play innocent. We have extensively documented your biological weapons program. The beasts you have engineered to do your bidding. The creatures you call." There was a pause as if the translator was searching for the right word. "Dogs." A muffled laugh escaped someone in the control room before they could stop themselves. Tom looked down at Max, who tilted his head at the mention of his species. "Dogs," Commander Reed repeated, clearly confused. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." At that moment, Max, who had been watching the screen with interest, let out a friendly woof. The reaction on the alien ship was immediate and dramatic. High Commander Axel recoiled, and alarmed chatter could be heard in the background. "You dare bring one of these beasts onto a peace station?" The alien commander's voice shook with what seemed like fear. "This proves our point. These creatures are present even in your most sensitive installations." Tom stepped forward, Max still at his heel. "Sir, if I may explain." "Silence." High Commander Axel cut him off. "You have 24 Earth hours to begin surrender proceedings, or we will be forced to take action to neutralize the threat these beasts pose to galactic peace." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the control room in stunned silence. Max, completely unaware of being the center of an interstellar incident, sat down and scratched behind his ear with his hind leg. Commander Reed turned to face her crew, her expression a mixture of disbelief and concern. "Well," she said finally, "this is certainly a first. Someone get Earth Command on the line." "And Parker?" "Yes, Commander. Keep Max close. Something tells me we're going to need his help proving to our new friends that man's best friend isn't a weapon of mass destruction." As the control room burst into action, Tom reached down to scratch Max's ears. The dog leaned into his touch, tail wagging, completely oblivious to the fact that he had just become the center of humanity's first interstellar diplomatic crisis. 24 hours, They had 24 hours to convince an advanced alien civilization that they had completely misunderstood the nature of dogs. Tom looked down at Max's innocent face and wondered how exactly they were going to explain thousands of years of friendship to beings who saw only weapons. The tension in the Horizon's main conference room could have been cut with a knife. 6 hours had passed since the alien ultimatum, and Earth's hastily assembled diplomatic team sat around the large oval table, watching as High Commander Axel's transmission filled the main screen. "We will now present our evidence," the alien commander announced, his multiple eyes gleaming. "Observe the true nature of your biological weapons." The screen split into multiple segments, each showing different footage. Tom Parker stood at attention near the wall, Max sitting calmly beside him, as they all watched the alien's presentation. The first video showed a police K-9 unit taking down a fleeing suspect. "Your beasts can outrun your fastest criminals," Axel narrated. The next clip displayed military dogs navigating obstacle courses. "You train them to overcome any terrain." Another segment showed guard dogs patrolling a facility. "They serve as your sentries, more alert than any technology." "These are working dogs," Dr. Wilson, Earth's leading xenobiologist, tried to explain. "They're specially trained to help us, but they're not weak." "Silence," Axel interrupted. "Watch this most disturbing footage." The screen switched to a scene of a family golden retriever playing fetch in a park with a child. The alien commander's voice trembled with what seemed like horror. "You indoctrinate your youngest to bond with these creatures, to control them from an early age. Even your offspring can command these beasts." Tom couldn't help but notice that Max's tail was wagging as he watched the dogs on screen. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. "High Commander," Ambassador Lee spoke carefully, "what you're seeing is companionship, not control. Dogs have been our friends for thousands of years." "Friends?" Axel's scales shifted color slightly. "You expect us to believe that these creatures, capable of tracking prey across vast distances, with teeth designed for tearing, with speed and strength far beyond your own species, are your friends?" As if to emphasize the point, the screen displayed footage of wolves hunting in the wild. "We traced their genetic ancestry. These are your friends in their natural state. You took these apex predators and somehow bent them to your will." Max chose this moment to yawn widely, displaying his impressive set of teeth before settling down for a nap. Several alien observers visible in the background of the transmission visibly flinched. "Perhaps a demonstration would help," Tom suggested, stepping forward. "With your permission, I can show you how we interact with our dogs." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "You wish to display your weapons capabilities. I wish to show you that you've misunderstood our relationship with dogs," Tom replied. "Max is my partner and friend, not a weapon." After several moments of apparent consultation with off-screen advisors, Axel agreed. "Proceed, but be warned, any aggressive action will be considered an act of war." Tom reached into his pocket and pulled out a tennis ball. Max's ears immediately perked up, and he rose to his feet, tail wagging enthusiastically. "This is a game we play," Tom explained, showing the ball to the camera. "It's called fetch. It's something dogs enjoy doing with us." He tossed the ball gently across the conference room. Max bounded after it, his nails clicking on the floor, caught the ball in his mouth, and proudly brought it back to Tom, tail wagging the entire time. The aliens watched in complete silence as this scene repeated several times. Finally, High Commander Axel spoke, his voice filled with disbelief. "You throw objects, and they'd willingly return them to you." "Yes," Tom replied, pausing the game to pet Max's head. "They do it because it's fun for them. Dogs enjoy playing with us." Playing. The concept seemed to confuse the aliens even more. "You engage in recreational activities with your biological weapons." Ambassador Lee leaned forward. "High Commander, I believe we're experiencing a significant cultural misunderstanding. What you see as weapons, we see as companions. Dogs have evolved alongside humans for millennia, not through force or control, but through mutual benefit and affection. The alien commander stared at Max, who had flopped onto his back, hoping for a belly rub, which Tom gladly provided. The sight of a supposedly deadly weapon squirming in joy from a simple belly rub seemed to short-circuit the alien's understanding of the situation. "We require time to process this information," Axel finally said. "Continue your demonstration. We will observe." As Tom continued showing Max's various tricks and behaviors, he couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of the situation. Here they were, averting an interstellar war with a game of fetch and a belly rub. The demonstration had been going on for nearly 2 hours. Tom's arm was getting tired from throwing the tennis ball, but Max showed no signs of wanting to stop. The alien observers had gradually moved closer to their viewing screens, their initial fear giving way to fascination. "Now, High Commander," Tom said, "I'd like to demonstrate some basic commands. These aren't combat instructions. They're ways we communicate with our dogs." He turned to Max, who sat attentively. "Max, sit." Max sat immediately. The aliens murmured among themselves. "Stay." Tom walked across the room. Max remained perfectly still, though his eyes followed his human companion. "Good boy, come." Max trotted over happily, tail wagging. "The level of control is unprecedented," High Commander Axel observed. "How do you achieve such complete dominance over their will?" Dr. Wilson stepped forward. "It's not dominance, Commander. It's trust and positive reinforcement. Watch." She pulled a treat from her pocket. "May I?" Tom nodded, and Dr. Wilson held out the small dog biscuit. Max understands that good behavior brings rewards. It's not about control. It's about cooperation. Treats. One of the alien scientists visible in the background moved closer to their camera. "You control these predators with food. We don't control them," Ambassador Lee explained. "Dogs choose to work with us because we've built a relationship over thousands of generations. They're not our servants or our weapons. They're our partners." To demonstrate this point, Tom gave Max his release command. "Go play." Max immediately broke his formal posture and began happily exploring the conference room, sniffing at corners and wagging his tail. But High Commander Axel seemed genuinely puzzled. "On your planet's information networks, we found countless images of these creatures guarding your dwellings, assisting your law enforcement, even participating in your wars." "Yes," Tom acknowledged, "dogs help us in many ways. But they do it because they want to, because they're pack animals by nature, and over thousands of years, they've come to see humans as part of their pack." The alien commander's scales shifted to a lighter shade, what the humans had begun to recognize as a sign of deep thought. "Pack animals? You mean they naturally form social bonds?" "Exactly," Dr. Wilson confirmed. "In fact, dogs are one of the few species on Earth that can understand human emotional cues. They can read our facial expressions, understand our tone of voice, even sense when we're sad or happy." As if to demonstrate this point, Max walked over to one of the younger human diplomats who had been looking increasingly stressed throughout the meeting. The dog gently placed his head on the man's lap, offering comfort. The diplomat smiled and scratched behind Max's ears. This behavior, Axel leaned closer to the screen, all sets of eyes focused intently. "It appears to be caring." "It is," Tom confirmed. "Dogs are empathetic creatures. They form emotional bonds not just with humans, but with other animals too. They can even show concern for creatures they've never met before." The alien commander turned to consult with someone off-screen, speaking in their native language, a series of clicking sounds and low hums. When he turned back, his demeanor had changed subtly. "We must confess something," Axel said slowly. "In our civilization's history, we have never encountered a species that willingly cooperates with another. The very concept is alien to us. All our technological advancement came from our drive to control our environment, not work with it." Ambassador Lee nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's why you immediately assumed dogs were weapons. You saw their capabilities but couldn't imagine a relationship based on mutual trust and affection. We request permission to learn more, the alien commander said. Our scientists are intrigued by this concept of cooperative evolution. Max had made his way back to Tom and was now leaning against his leg, a familiar comfort in an extraordinary situation. Tom reached down to scratch his friend's ears, earning a contented sigh from the dog. We would be happy to teach you, Ambassador Lee replied with a smile. Perhaps understanding how humans and dogs learn to work together could open new paths of cooperation between our species as well. The tension in the room had completely dissipated. What had started as a potential interstellar conflict was transforming into something far more interesting. A chance to bridge not just the gap between species, but between fundamentally different ways of seeing the universe itself. The educational session with the aliens had been proceeding smoothly when the Horizon's emergency sirens suddenly blared to life. Red warning lights bathed the conference room in an eerie glow as Commander Reed's voice came over the intercom. All personnel, we have a critical system failure in Section D coolant leak detected. This is not a drill. All non-essential personnel evacuate to safe zones immediately. The human delegation quickly began their evacuation procedures, but the video link with the alien ship remained active. High Commander Axel watched with interest as the humans efficiently organized themselves. We need to pause our discussion, Ambassador Lee informed their alien observers. We have an emergency situation to handle. But before anyone could leave the conference room, a young alien diplomat on the station, part of a small delegation that had come aboard an hour earlier as a show of growing trust, rushed into the room in panic. High Commander, the young diplomat, whose name was Rax, called out. The emergency protocols have sealed me off from our shuttle bay. Their scales had turned a pale, sickly color that indicated extreme distress. Tom quickly checked his security tablet. Section D is between here and their docking port. The containment doors are sealed, standard procedure for coolant leaks. Suddenly, a violent shudder ran through the station. The lights flickered, and warning klaxons grew louder. Secondary containment failure in Section D, the computer announced. Toxic coolant spreading. All personnel must evacuate affected areas immediately. Rax's scales paled even further. I cannot return to our ship. I am trapped. Max, who had been alert since the first alarm, suddenly lifted his nose to the air and whined. Tom recognized that behavior. The dog had caught a scent of something wrong. Commander Reed, Tom called over his comm. I have Max with me. He's trained in search and rescue. Permission to attempt to find a safe route for our alien guest. There was a brief pause before Reed's response came through. Granted, Parker. But be careful, coolant sensors are malfunctioning. We can't get accurate readings on the spread. High Commander Axel's voice boomed from the screen. You would risk your weapon in such dangerous conditions. Max is a trained rescue dog, Tom explained quickly while checking his emergency gear. This is what he's good at, finding safe paths and helping people. The alien commander watched in disbelief as Tom fitted Max with specialized boots to protect his paws from potential chemical exposure and a lightweight protective vest. The dog stood patiently, clearly familiar with the equipment. Rax, Tom addressed the young alien diplomat. I need you to trust us. Max can lead us through this, but you need to follow our instructions exactly. The young alien looked at their commander on the screen, who gave a reluctant nod. You may proceed, Axel said, though his tone suggested he still half expected the dog to turn violent at any moment. Max took point, nose working constantly, as they moved through the station's corridors. The dog would stop occasionally, test the air, and choose their path carefully. When they encountered traces of coolant vapor, Max guided them to alternate routes. He can smell the chemicals, Tom explained as they moved. He knows which ways are dangerous. They were making good progress when another violent shudder rocked the station. A section of ceiling panel came loose ahead of them. Max barked sharply. A warning. giving them just enough time to step back before it crashed down. "Path blocked," Tom reported into his comm. "Max, find another way." The dog didn't hesitate. He led them down a maintenance corridor, moving with purpose. Behind them, they could hear the hiss of spreading coolant vapor. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity but was probably only 15 minutes, they reached the alien shuttle bay. Rax's scales had begun returning to their normal color as they realized they were safe. "I do not understand," Rax said, looking at Max with new eyes. "Your beast, it saved me. It guided us through danger instead of attacking when stressed." Max, still alert but clearly pleased with himself, wagged his tail at the alien's words. The video feed from the conference room had followed them through the station's camera system, and High Commander Axel had witnessed everything. "Perhaps," the alien commander said slowly, "we have much more to learn about these creatures than we first thought." After the coolant leak was contained and repairs were underway, the meeting reconvened in a different conference room. The atmosphere had changed dramatically. Where before there had been tension and suspicion, now there was genuine curiosity, especially from the alien side. Rax, who had insisted on staying aboard the station despite the earlier danger, sat closer to Max than any alien had dared before. The young diplomat watched in fascination as the dog dozed peacefully, occasionally opening one eye to check on everyone in the room. "Tell us," High Commander Axel requested from the video screen, "how did your species first begin this alliance with these dogs?" Dr. Wilson pulled up a holographic display showing ancient cave paintings. It started approximately 30,000 Earth years ago, when humans were still hunter-gatherers. Wolves, the ancestors of dogs, would follow our hunting parties. "Were they attacking you?" one of the alien scientists asked. "No," Tom explained, scratching Max's ears as he spoke. "They were scavenging the remains of our hunts. Over time, the less aggressive wolves would get closer to human camps. They'd warn us of dangers, and we'd share food with them." The hologram shifted to show the gradual changes in wolf anatomy over thousands of years, the softening of facial features, the changes in body structure, the development of different breeds. The wolves that could better understand human gestures and emotions got more food and protection, Dr. Wilson continued. They passed these traits to their pups. Meanwhile, humans began actively choosing to breed wolves that were better at cooperating with us. "A mutual evolution?" Rax asked, fascinated. "Both species changed to accommodate each other." "Exactly," Ambassador Lee confirmed. "Humans became better at understanding dog body language, while dogs developed an almost supernatural ability to read human emotions and intentions." To demonstrate, Tom pretended to be sad, hanging his head and sighing. Immediately, Max got up and went to him, pressing against his leg and looking up with concerned eyes. Several aliens made clicking sounds of surprise. "This is why we were so confused by your reaction to dogs," Tom said, dropping the act and petting Max reassuringly. "We've lived and worked together for so long that most humans can't imagine life without them. They're part of our families." Families. High Commander Axel's scales shifted in what they now recognized as surprise. "You consider them kin?" "Many of us do," Tom confirmed. "They live in our homes, sleep in our beds, play with our children. They work alongside us not because we force them to, but because they want to be part of our pack." Rax, who had been quietly observing Max, spoke up. "During the emergency, I felt genuine concern from this creature for my safety. Not duty, not programming, but actual worry." "That's who they are," Dr. Wilson said softly. "Dogs have evolved to care about us, and we've evolved to care about them. It's a partnership built on trust and love." "Love." The alien commander tested the word carefully. "Your translation matrix uses this word often, but we have difficulty understanding its full meaning." Tom thought for a moment, then said, "Rax, would you like to try something? I promise it's safe." The young diplomat nodded eagerly. "Hold your hand out, palm up, like this," Tom demonstrated. "Max, gentle." Max approached Rax slowly, his tail wagging in a friendly manner. He sniffed the offered hand carefully, then gave it a small lick. The alien diplomat's scales rippled with colors they hadn't seen before. The sensation, it's not unpleasant, Rax said wonderingly. And the creature? Max. He's expressing happiness. That's right, Tom smiled. That wagging tail means he likes you. Dogs are excellent judges of character. They can sense when someone has good intentions. High Commander Axel watched this interaction with all sets of eyes focused intently. We have made a grave error in our initial assessment, he admitted. These beings are not weapons to be feared, but rather a testament to what cooperation between species can achieve. As if understanding the gravity of the moment, Max sat up straight and proud, his presence a living symbol of one of humanity's most successful partnerships. The room fell into thoughtful silence as both species contemplated the implications of this ancient alliance between human and dog. The following days aboard the Horizon brought remarkable changes. The alien delegation had grown from just Rax to include several xenobiologists and cultural experts, all eager to understand the human-dog relationship. Tom and Max had become unofficial ambassadors, demonstrating the depth of their partnership. In the station's recreation area, Tom was showing the aliens something that made their scales shift through various colors of disbelief. Max playing in zero gravity. The station had a designated exercise zone where artificial gravity could be adjusted, and Max had learned to enjoy these special play sessions. Watch this, Tom said, floating near the ceiling. He tossed Max's favorite ball across the space. The dog, wearing his special space boots, pushed off from a wall and gracefully navigated through the air to catch it. Remarkable adaptation, one of the alien scientists noted, recording everything. The creature shows no distress in zero-gravity conditions. Max returned the ball to Tom by gently pushing off another wall, his tail creating small adjustments to his trajectory. The alien observers clicked and hummed among themselves, their earlier fear completely replaced by scientific curiosity. Meanwhile, on the main screen, High Commander Axel was giving his official report to the Galactic Alliance Council. The footage of Max's zero-gravity fetch game played in the background. Honored Council, Axel addressed the unseen audience. I must formally retract our initial assessment of Earth's canine companions. What we interpreted as biological weapons are, in fact, one of the most sophisticated examples of cross-species cooperation we have ever encountered. The Council's response came as a series of musical tones that the translation matrix converted to words. Explain the strategic significance of this discovery. These creatures, these dogs, represent something our civilization has never achieved. True symbiotic partnership with another species. They demonstrate that power can come from cooperation rather than control. The video feed from the recreation area now showed Max performing tricks in zero gravity, rolling over in midair and navigating through floating hoops, all while clearly enjoying himself. The footage had already gone viral across alien social media networks, causing a sensation among species that had never imagined such a relationship was possible. Furthermore, Axel continued, we have discovered that these companions serve functions beyond what we initially observed. They provide emotional support, assist with medical detection, aid in search and rescue operations, and even help maintain their human psychological well-being. Back in the recreation area, one of the braver alien scientists had joined the zero-gravity session. Max gently brought them a floating toy, causing the alien scales to flash with delight. The implications for our own society are profound, Axel told the Council. If humans could forge such a bond with a predator species, transforming them into trusted allies over generations, perhaps we too have overlooked potential partnerships in our own worlds. The Council deliberated in their musical language before responding. This represents a significant shift in our understanding of Earth's civilization. What are your recommendations? I propose 2 initiatives, Axel said firmly. First, the immediate reclassification of Earth's dogs from biological weapons to companion species with protected status. Second, the establishment of a cultural exchange program to learn from humanity's experience in cross-species cooperation. Tom watched this exchange while floating near the ceiling, Max tucked comfortably against his chest in the zero gravity. The dog seemed to understand that something important was happening, staying calm and dignified, despite the tempting toys floating around them. "Your proposal is accepted." The Council's harmonious response came through. "We look forward to learning from Earth's experience in this matter." As the transmission ended, Rax approached Tom in the zero-gravity chamber, their scales showing excitement. "My colony has already requested permission to study dog training techniques. We believe this could revolutionize how we interact with species on our own worlds." Tom smiled, watching Max execute a perfect zero-gravity somersault to catch another floating toy. "Just remember, it's not about training or control. It's about friendship and trust." The footage of Max's space adventures continued to spread across the galaxy, challenging countless civilizations' assumptions about interspecies relationships. What had started as a terrible misunderstanding was becoming one of the greatest diplomatic breakthroughs in human history, all thanks to humanity's oldest and most faithful friends. 3 months after the initial first contact, the Horizon Space Station had become the center of an unprecedented interstellar cultural exchange program. The station's corridors, once purely utilitarian, now featured designated areas where visiting alien diplomats could interact with various Earth dogs and their handlers. Tom stood in the newly created Canine Cultural Center, watching as Max demonstrated his skills for yet another group of fascinated alien visitors. The center had been designed to showcase the various roles dogs played in human society, from working dogs to family pets. "And you say these smaller ones are also the same species?" an alien delegate asked, pointing to a hologram of a Chihuahua next to a Great Dane. "That's right," Tom explained. "Through careful breeding over thousands of years, we develop different dogs for different purposes, but they all share the same capacity for loyalty and companionship." The station's biggest surprise came when High Commander Axel made an unexpected personal visit. The commander's entrance caused quite a stir, not because of his impressive presence, but because of the small, wiggling puppy cradled carefully in his secondary arms. "This is Scout," Axel announced, his scales showing a mix of pride and embarrassment. "The Earth delegation suggested I might benefit from experiencing this bond firsthand." The puppy, a golden retriever specially chosen for its gentle temperament, looked completely at ease in the alien commander's arms. Tom noticed how carefully Axel held the small creature, all 4 sets of his eyes constantly checking to make sure the puppy was comfortable. "How are you finding the experience, Commander?" Tom asked, hiding a smile as Scout tried to lick one of Axel's faces. "It is enlightening," Axel admitted. "Scout required assistance 6 times during the night cycle, consumed one of my ceremonial robes, and seems unable to maintain focus for more than a few moments. Yet, his scales shifted to a warm color. I find myself increasingly concerned with his well-being." Max, ever the gentleman, approached Scout with gentle interest. The puppy yipped excitedly, and Axel carefully lowered him to the floor. The 2 dogs touched noses, Max being exceptionally patient with the energetic puppy. "The Galactic Alliance has officially approved the Interstellar Companion Animal Exchange Program," Axel announced, watching the dogs interact. "Earth dogs will be among the first species considered for adoption by qualified alien families." Ambassador Lee, who had just entered the center, added, "And Earth will be sharing our experience in animal companionship to help other species explore similar bonds with creatures from their own worlds." The program had already shown promising results. Several alien civilizations had reported discovering potential companion species on their home planets, creatures they had previously overlooked or misunderstood, just as they had misunderstood dogs. "We've also approved the construction of 5 more canine cultural centers across different sectors of the galaxy," Axel continued, trying to maintain his dignified demeanor while Scout playfully tugged at his ceremonial cape. Earth dogs will serve as ambassadors, teaching other species about the possibility of interspecies friendship. Tom watched as Max guided Scout through a gentle game of fetch, showing the puppy how to properly retrieve a toy. It's amazing to think that our oldest friendship is now helping us make new friends across the stars. The center had become a symbol of hope, proof that different species could not only coexist but form meaningful bonds. Visitors from dozens of worlds came to learn about Earth's dogs, and each left with a new understanding of what was possible. As the day drew to a close, Tom found himself in his quarters with Max, watching Earth rise over the station's horizon. Scout had fallen asleep in Axel's lap during their last meeting, and the sight of the stern alien commander carefully avoiding any movement that might disturb the puppy's rest had been something to remember. "You know, boy," Tom said to Max, who was contentedly chewing a bone, "when I joined station security, I never thought you'd end up preventing an interstellar war and starting a galactic pet adoption program." Max just wagged his tail, unconcerned with his role in galactic politics. To him, it had all been simple: making friends, helping those in need, and getting belly rubs along the way. Perhaps that, Tom thought, was the greatest lesson humanity could teach the galaxy. Sometimes the simplest bonds are the most profound. The story of humanity's terrible weapons had become a tale of friendship that would be told across the stars for generations to come, all because aliens had misunderstood the true nature of mankind's best friend.